Yes, Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge right now. Your MVP pick is?
Gotta be Cal Raleigh.
Gotta be Cal Raleigh.
I've turned the corner on this. Aaron Judge is still having an amazing Aaron Judge year. But like I said, until you can grab it and tear it out of his hands, and right now Cal Raleigh is running with this thing.
He 80 points lower in the batting average, though.
The average is lower, but again,
points.
he's like number 2 in almost everything across the board, and being the catcher and what the Mariners are doing, setting records as a catcher and home runs. He's doing all those. He's checking every one of the boxes in his historic fashion. Aaron Judge having a great year. Cal Raleigh's having a historic year. A match like that, that's differentiated for me. Again, he's pulled it out of his hands with his history. And we'll put up 9 play. Like, it's going to be different.
Numbers move now the right way. Back to the NFL discussion on the MVP board. Next. Conversation. Alright, back to the NFL conversation, and let's talk a little bit about MVP. A week from now, we'll actually have NFL football. Gets kicked off on Thursday with the Eagles and Cowboys. But I want to talk about MVP. We're doing a series on the show about different NFL divisions. If not, then which team would win? If not, the favorite. Well, we did the same for the MVP race. Before it even gets started in the NFL this season. Of course, Josh Allen, the winner of the MVP award last year. Plenty of great candidates this year. And a familiar name is atop the list when it comes to that MVP race. Sammy Arnell and I discussed. The favorite to win the AP's NFL regular season MVP is Lamar Jackson. He is plus 430. After that is Josh Allen at 6-1, Joe Burrow at 6-1, Patrick Mahomes just below that at plus 650, Jaden Daniels at 10-1, and then Justin Herbert at 21. Those are your top 6 over on FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Sports Unofficial. Why? They don't pay us. So Sammy Arnell asked the question today to you. If not Lamar Jackson for MVP, then who?
Yeah, Jason, and this is obviously an award that I think that I understand pretty well, considering that I've been the narrative of this MVP, or this award, the past 2 seasons on the show before the season started. And quite frankly, when you look at the MVP, you gotta do this. You look at the narrative. It's a narrative-based award. Who can maintain the narrative throughout the entirety of the season? Last year, you saw based on what people were saying going into the year, based on what they were saying about the Bills. If they had any success, it was going to come exclusively from Josh Allen. That was the narrative going into the season. What happened? Josh Allen won the MVP. What's the narrative going into the season? It seems that you can't turn your head without seeing somebody talking about how Joe Burrow seemingly is
MVP.
If you
go where I think you're about to go.
Because of the stats that happened last year, right? And because of the voting that we saw last year, I think that it's as far in the rearview mirror as is that it's comfortable to say Josh Allen wasn't, necessarily deserving of the MVP from a statistical perspective last year. It had to do with what he did with relation to what he had, right? The statistical MVP last year was Joe Burrow. The reason he gave it to Josh Allen last year was because there was an entire year before that where Josh Allen had the argument for Lamar Jackson winning the MVP, and the voters boxed it up and picked Lamar again. So the voters are still clearly trying to dig themselves out of this hole, and because of that, they're giving it to Joe Burrow this year if he has any semblance of a successful season.
Wow, you went Joe Burrow. I'm you know what? Hats off to you, Sammy. Sometimes I wonder if you're going to go with your heart versus your head, and you impressed me on this one. I did not think you would say Joe Burrow. And it disappoints me that you did, because I was going to say Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow. I don't even think it's if not Lamar Jackson, then who? It's if not Joe Burrow, then who for me this year. That team was so much to prove. And look, statistically, I think he's going to blow numbers that are just out of the water. I think he's going to do some ridiculous things from a numerical perspective. One, he's going to have to, because even with Trey Hendrickson, I think a lot of us question what that defense is going to look like over the course of 17 games. I expect Josh Allen will still have a phenomenal year. I still think Lamar Jackson will have a good year. But I also think some of this is, as much as we talk about narratives, it's also predicated on the idea that you believe the Bengals are going to be better, that they're going to get off to a faster start. Remember, we ran through the schedule briefly last week when we did this exercise earlier this week. I don't remember the days all blend together. We ran through this, and they've got a tough schedule. But if they can get through the first 6 weeks at 3-3 or 4-2, and I mean that because if you look at the schedule, it's a murderer's row of the first 6 weeks of the season. If they can get through that, and get through that gauntlet, so to speak, and find themselves just in the playoffs, I kind of think they need to win a division for him to be the MVP. Him and Lamar have similar seasons. Not that they have similar numbers, because Lamar does different things, obviously, running the football, being a dual threat. I think it could be Lamar Jackson the award still. I believe Burrow's going to put monster numbers this year, though. I think it's him. First and foremost, I love the number at 6-1. I would go and put money on it at 6-1. But let me also throw this in. The final minute and a half we have here. Do not sleep on Jaden Daniels. At 10-1, I love that number. I mean, I don't know how you're not putting a sprinkle, as Sam likes to say, on Jaden Daniels, given what he did last year. Unless you believe that there was a similar situation to a certain quarterback in Houston who regressed in his second year in the league. Unless you believe that sort of regression is coming for Jaden Daniels, I don't know how you don't put money on Jaden Daniels at 10-1, Sam. We're talking 10 in the U.S. Open and odds next.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found at nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-YET-HOME.
We're talking tennis in the U.S. Open and on next.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found at nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
put up with your old shower for too long. It's outdated and unsafe, and it's time to replace it. But why struggle with a minky shower remote when you can do it just one day? And there's no need to break a sweat or lift it. Right now, we're with all installation costs, plus offering 0 interest and 0 payment for 1 year. So you can finally convert your old bath to a safer, easy infused shower, complete with custom seat, crab bars, and solar assisted floor, installed in 1 day.
My overall experience with the jacuzzi has been wonderful. Everything was customized to the way I wanted it for the price that I wanted to pay.
I had a great experience from start to finish.
Don't take matters into your own hands. Do it the smart way. Get a jacuzzi bathroom model call.
Call or go online now to jacuzzibathroom.com. We're waiting on installation cost and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathroom.com or call 800-991-0721. That's 800-991-0721. Call now.
Oh, just about time. Welcome back to the show. Just about time to wrap things up with odds and ends. But before we do, a couple of quick reminders. If you have not subscribed to Sports Rap Jason Page Podcast, what are you waiting for? Don't do it. It's available on your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get podcast. You can also watch us Monday through Friday.